Revenue Secretary neatly explained as to how 1.25 lakh has been exempted annually for the smaller investors in the market. They are not subject to 1.25 lakh is not subject to the tax. So keeping in mind the small investors, we've given that exemption. But as Revenue Secretary rightly explained, majority of them who are earning big amounts out of it are the ones who will be paying 12.5 rather than 10 now. And the indexation removal has been explained very clearly with case instances. So many cases have been shown as those which we studied before we brought this, so that people will pay lesser than what they have been paying even with indexation. What they're going to pay at 12.5 is lesser than even what they have paid if the indexation were to be there. So enough work was done in consultation with people who advise us on these matters, and it has not been brought in thoughtlessly. And today, and since last night, the kind of explanations that we are giving to dispel all these quick fix answers people have given, which are not right. I would want everybody to please go through the explanations, the clarifications, the FAQ which the Income Tax Department, the CBDT, has put out. Then you'll know that it is certainly not going to hurt most people. There can be some who are, getting that benefit at a higher level, but certainly not the middle class, certainly not the poor, small retail investors. I can assure you on that. Enough and more work was done with instances of what if the price is now here, what it was purchased so and so year. We've done all that and we've put it all out.
So you're
kindly have a look at it.
I've looked at it.
It was done. Let me assure you with this one line. It was not done for revenue considerations. It was more an exercise to simplify the entire long-term capital gains and also to make sure all asset classes are treated similarly.
So you're saying there's no relook that you're planning on this issue?
It is now a property of the Parliament. I can't comment on it beyond this.
As far as reforms are concerned, disinvestments, shying away from disinvestment, 60,000 crore was your target previously. You brought it down to 50,000 crore, and even what was the target has not been achieved. In fact, it's only 50% achieved at this point. Do you think somewhere or the other we are losing focus on reforms?
No. Otherwise, even in this budget, I wouldn't have given so many things about reforms. Land, factor reforms have all been defined in this budget. Disinvestment is not a process which I've got a cabinet approval, so I want to sell this today, I will sell it. No, it requires a lot of preparatory work. Many of our PSUs are now being professionally run, and therefore their valuations are all going up. But I'll have to find my best time to disinvest them. And that best time depends on so many different factors. The company's own readiness to meet the challenges of a market are not simple tasks. They consume time. But we will honor the cabinet approval decisions.
You've also cut the tax rates for foreign companies investing in India from 40% to 35%. Is this because FDI, people say, has been falling, and FDI falling and the percentage of the GDP is an area of worry? Do you think this tax cut alone can once again give
it? It wasn't aimed at that, nor is it expecting a huge flow because of that. FDI come into this country in various different forms, in the sense various different sources invest in India. And we've kept a policy which is favoring FDI because we think India is the place for manufacturing now, and investments should happen in this country. Therefore, the policy, FDI policy, is something which has been every year bettered and improved upon. We are now looking at investments coming for labor-intensive sectors as well.
So, but FDI stood at almost $14.5 billion in April 23. to February 24 period, it's down from that level. It's down to that level from $26.7 billion. That's a sharp fall in FDI.
FDIs also move based on many other external considerations. Doesn't move just on India's own policy or India's own situation, global situation.
But we wanted to be the alternative to China. How far are we from that target?
We are still working towards it. That's why you have this growth. You think this growth can be otherwise achieved?
Let me ask you, middle class. इस बजट में मिडिल क्लास को आपने लगभग 17,500 रुपीस का एक रिलैक्सेशन दिया बाय रेजिंग द एग्जेम्पशन लिमिट. ग्रेट. हाउ मच डज दैट वर्क आउट टू? मैं आपको बताऊं, पर मंथ एक मिडिल क्लास के घर में 1,458 रुपीस बचते हैं. आपको लगता है कि इस 1,500 रुपए से कम की जो बचत हुई उससे मिडिल क्लास घर में कोई खास फर्क पड़ेगा?
Avika, I respect this issue of middle class should be given some rahat. How much ever I wish to give, I love to give more. But after a point, it's also, particularly when it comes to tax-related issue. That is why, to make a difference to the salaried people, I made sure that the standard deduction will go up from 50,000 to 75,000. Once the tax rates are also being changed, that will benefit even the higher tax payers. Because for every 1 lakh, first 1 lakh, first 5 lakh, first 10 lakh, first 15 lakh, the kind of benefit that will benefit even the higher income groups. So, first of all, our intention to give something to the middle class salaried people, I increase this standard deduction. I can do more, I wish to do more, but there are limitations in taxation. How much more can I give is a question that I have to look at. So ideally, yes, I love to give more, but there are limitations. And I have to consider there are limitations. That's why affordable housing, I'm giving some kind of a benefit and subsidized interest. I'm also making sure that student loans for students who are going to study in Indian universities is up to 10 lakhs, and on that also a subsidized interest will be given for families to pick up for children's education. So there are various ways in which we are trying.
Especially when papers are leaking all over the place.
Well, that has clearly been taken up in the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court has come out with, having looked at the case, its judgment. I think we should learn to judge, learn to respect the judgment which has come from the Supreme Court.
निर्मला जी, आपने कहा मिडिल क्लास को मैं ज्यादा देना चाहती हूँ, लेकिन सवाल लोग ये करते हैं कि इस देश की 140 करोड़ की आबादी है, उसमें से 7 करोड़ लोग इनकम टैक्स के नेट में आते हैं, जिसमें से 5 करोड़ लगभग, शायद उससे कुछ ज्यादा ही, सिर्फ रिटर्न फाइल करते हैं, टैक्स नहीं देते. यानी कि पूरे देश के 140 करोड़ लोगों के बिहाफ पर अगर कोई टैक्स दे रहा है तो वो 2 करोड़, लगभग 2 करोड़, शायद उससे कम लोग. क्या उनकी गलती यही है कि वो सैलरीड हैं, उनके पास कोई ऑप्शन नहीं है, उनका तो जो टैक्स है वो टीडीएस पे कटता है? और एक मीम जो मुझे दिखा, जो मुझे बहुत लगता है कि हर मिडिल क्लास घर में, और ये अगर मैं आपको दिखाऊं तो इसमें, आई डोंट नो आपने देखा कि नहीं सोशल मीडिया में, वो कह रहा है ये तनख्वाह आती है, तनख्वाह में से आप पहले तो 30% डायरेक्ट टैक्स दे देते हैं और बाकी का आप क्या करेंगे, आप जो खर्च करते हैं उसमें आप अगर ऑर्डिनरी चीजों पे खर्च करते हैं तो आपको 12% का जीएसटी लगता है, थोड़ी सी महंगी चीजों पर करते हैं तो 18%, और लग्जरी गुड्स थोड़े बहुत खरीदने का अगर आपका शौक है तो वो 28%. तो ये सैलरी यहाँ चली जाती है, और यहाँ पर आप जो इन्वेस्ट करते हैं तो अगर आपके लॉसेस होते हैं तो सरकार आपको कुछ नहीं कहती, लेकिन अगर आपको फायदा होता है तो आप 20% टैक्स दे दीजिए यहाँ पर, या 12.5% जो आपने लॉन्ग टर्म कैपिटल गेन्स टैक्स लगा दिया है। तो सैलरीड वाला, खास करके प्राइवेट सेक्टर में जो सैलरीड इंसान होता है, उसके पास कोई सोशल सिक्योरिटी नहीं है, उसके पास कोई पेंशन नहीं है, वो सरकारी नौकर नहीं है। उनका कौन सा बेनिफिट है जिस पर टैक्स नहीं लगता? ये सवाल जनता पूछ रही है, मिडिल क्लास के लोग पूछ रहे हैं।
हम टैक्स रेट कम करने के लिए हर कोशिश करिए। दैट इज व्हाई वी ब्रॉट इन द न्यू टैक्स regime, the second, the alternative new regime, which has far lesser rate compared to the old regime. The old regime has a lot of exemptions and so on. Many people said we don't need the exemptions, so we brought that. That's one. We tried to reduce and simplify the taxation entire system and regime itself. And it's difficult to convey this, and I don't know how I'm going to do this without causing this outrage about, how dare the finance minister say this. But let us, matter of fact, please allow me this indulgence. Is GST tax on the essentials, was it brought in only by GST? When they taxed under the earlier pre-GST regime in every state, through VAT or through excise? Don't tax. Great principle. Great principle. Don't tax at all. But to say that it is GST which brought it on my soap, panna oil, my comb, with due respect, yeah, whether you want to accept it or not, even I come from a middle class family which lived on salaries. Do you think I'm here now doing things which I don't understand? With due respects, GST on daily use items, every state was doing its own earlier. That's being brought together so that it becomes simple and one all over the country.
Let me also ask you, Mr. Chidambaram, your predecessor in this very building, not block, says that you're very happy. He's very happy that you were reading his and his party's manifesto, where you picked up the ELI, the internship. On the internship issue, and he says angel tax that was removed was also their idea in the manifesto. Really, were there some efforts made to look at other people's manifestos, other parties' manifestos before the BJP finalized its own policy?
I would want to first of all remind that it was the Congress party which brought in the angel tax in the first place. That was in 2012. And they were there in power for 2 years after that. This removal which we are doing now, they should have removed it much before they went away. So it's very nice for the Congress party to remind me, saying, we said that this should be removed, so in fact, there was a tweet, I think, saying it's an exploitative tax, it should be removed. My question is, who brought the exploitative tax in the first place? Who brought it in? Congress party. Before 14, you could have removed it before you went away. Why didn't you? And in the 10 years, we have tried eliminating all kinds of weeds, poisonous weeds, which were part of this.
It took you 10 years?
Yes, systematically we've removed this, the startups from it. We last year brought in an amendment to make sure that parity is brought between the way in which the investors, domestic investors, NRI, are treated similarly. So we tried making it less toxic, if I may use that word. Then, after a lot of discussions, since we understood in the sense that this serves no additional purpose, if really black money has to be curtailed, for which it was brought in, we have the PMLA, we have the Black Money Act, and particularly because Black Money Act post 2015 brought in by this government are all there. We will use them. And therefore, we've removed this. Congress party which brought it in, Congress party which lived with it for 2 years, and Congress party which typically calls its own law exploitative today's. They should actually congratulate us for having removed what they brought in, a toxic thing into the system. They brought in this toxicity.
So let me ask you, on your internship scheme, which also they say that was their original idea, you said 1 crore people will be given these internships in 500 odd companies. Now, if I do the math, over 5 years, it means 20,000 people in every company of the 500, if all 500 are doing at the same level, which means 4,000 of these interns will go per company. Do you think companies have the kind of wherewithal to just have internships of 4,000 within their existing setups every single year? Number one.
We are paying for them, Navika. Government is giving 5,000 rupees per month for them and 6,000 rupees at the beginning as one-time payment. And for the 12 months, therefore, the payment is coming from us, one. So for them to host somebody who's going to be an intern for whose payment is being given by the government of India, I'm not saying, oh, it's an easy adjustment. Companies will be nudged to do this because it is these companies which often tell us that they are not able to get employable skilled people, industry-ready qualified people. So by this exercise, we hope companies are able to also see that this internship gives them the understanding of that kind of a requirement, and therefore they will be better ready for industry, one. And I'm saying this in the context, oh, is this, you may ask me.
4,000 people in a building.
Yes, no, a company is not just one building. There are several units of a company, branches of a company. They have different, establishments for different purposes. So I don't think it is that simple. But then the question is, haven't we heard in the recent past, and when I say recent past, not months, just recently, one top company's CEO saying 45,000 jobs are lying vacant because they are not able to get. And who is this company? If I can take the name, L&T. 45,000, and they are not able to find the right kind of people. And I won't blame the company. Maybe that's a reality. Therefore, what we need to do is to give the young people that exposure. 1 year in the shop floor as an intern, when he gets out and puts that in his CV, there can be many other companies who look for such people to recruit. So I expect a lot of positivity from this scheme, and companies will realize that that is eventually going to give them a bankable pool of people with that kind of an exposure. So I think companies will come out favorably.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.